Thank goodness it is finally here. We get our third game of round one and we finally get to lock in our teams. And it's been a very long 2 weeks, that's for sure, with plenty of content coming out about majoritively similar guys and some newbies, which you'll see on my screen as well, which is super exciting at that. So the theory and the theme of today's video and today's team reveals and my strategy in my side is looking for upside. And I absolutely butchered that in the first two games. So I'm looking to rectify that in these ones coming up and then look to rectify that situation and bring some of those guys in for round two. And I've got a bunch of guys I think in my side that should have a high chance of scoring well. I'm either looking at middles, hookers, edges that I think have a little bit of upside in terms of scoring tries, but they also have the upside in just their work rate and getting through those points and knocking out really nice scores. So that is the preface coming into this one here and what I'm looking at with my guys, that upside and the ability just to accumulate points and be a fairly easy watch, because we've had plenty of guys in the past that it does look a bit tough for them to score, and other guys just like they just do it easy at that. This first game tonight though, it's super spicy because a lot of people are going to have 3, 4, 5 Raiders potentially, right? And that can cause some headaches for sure down the line. It could also be really, really good. I suppose all we hope for, if we're going to have a lot of players in this game, obviously on the night side as well, you have the Adam Elliott's, Pongers, these types of guys that you could look at in the Knights team there. But really, you just want a free-flowing, minimal errors type of game, and most of these guys should score pretty well. Those options in those teams is crazy. As we said, we've got the Morgan Smithies, Zach Hoskins, Fogarty, Kotrick, Seb Chris, Rapana. There's 6, right? And there could potentially be some other. Danny Levi, make it 7. So there's 7 options from the Raiders, right? And you've got Adam Elliott, who I think is a solid option as well that you could look at. In the night side, you got Ponga as well. So you do have to pretty well set up the team you want tonight and then have some flexibility around that as well. So make sure your team is valid, everyone's selected, and you're good to go for that. So let's kick it off with the elephant in the room there, and that's Morgan Smithies. And he's in there as a dual position edge and middle. Big reason for getting him was the reduction in price. Compared to that, I was looking at Hosking. You do not see him in the starting, but is he on the bench? With Smithies there, I think that at a minimum, we get a couple of really good games out of him. And there's also scope that he could be their longer term 13. Like Horsburgh did really, really good, but can he be a bigger minute 8 or 10? Or, with the cover that they have with Starling, obviously with Levi as well on the bench, do they just play a lot of their guys sort of a little bit less minutes and Smithies sort of stays at 13 and plays about the 50? And then they can use the minutes from the other guys around that. That's potentially an option. And Horsburgh goes back to some lower minutes that he was playing for more than about half of last year. There's also the worry that Horsburgh could come back in round 3 and completely take that spot, and Smithies goes back to the bench and plays some type of minutes. But all of the news that we're hearing out of Raiders is that they were super excited about getting him over mid last year, and they've got him, and he's actually exceeded their expectations. And watching that trial on the weekend was the easiest watch. You'll see his tackle technique is impeccable. He got 23 in 27 minutes, so 3 tries in that time. It was super hot as well. So you get a night game here. Obviously round 2 you're looking at as well. They play the Tigers, and then I think we can make our decision from there. He's very much a stepping stone in my side, but I think at 520 at minimum for the first couple of weeks, I potentially could need could need a hooker if Grant goes down, or we don't want to play a cheaper guy in round 4 with Grant. There's a lot of different options. I might need to see how he plays, and then he could be a straight swap to Terrell May. Like there's lots of options you can do with these guys, and if it all goes well, he could be a 55 to 60 minute guy scoring about that 50. I've got him 45 to 55 in my thoughts there with those types of minutes. And he makes quick cash and does a great job. So it's upside in points and upside in a little bit of cash making with a little bit of risk on position loss, which is a lot of the reason why we didn't speak about him too much. But that trial last week was super exciting to see from Morgan, and I think he's going to do really, really well. So that's that with Morgan. Dual position is obviously helpful as well, and as I said, we can work it out in a couple of weeks. It's very much the same with Hosking as well, if anyone's looking for him. Whitehead, they say that he's such a good healer, so he could be back in a couple of weeks. So, either way, I think Smithies is 60k cheaper than Hosking, has the dual position. I'm going to go him just over the top because I want to save some bank there. Sitting with 80 currently, but one of the bench decisions that I'll speak about in a sec, I am likely to change it just based on how a team list sets up, and that's the Melbourne Storm and Mr. Joey Chan. But we'll get to that when we get there. Harry Grant with the hooking position. I want to lock in the best bloke. He's cheaper than he started it last year, and everyone was on him, and I wasn't last year. For some reason, there's a lot less people on him this year. He's still 30% owned, but a lot less than in sort of, I don't know, let's say the top sort of 10,000 teams. I think it's a lot, a few more casual fans as well that aren't watching these videos that are on Grant as well, hence the 30%. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I just want to get the best scorer in my team in that position. Yes, the buy in round 4. Yes, the harder matchups to kick things off, but it's Harry Grant. He's an absolute gun. That's that. Next guys on the list, obviously Murray, Tupanua, Wong, Bitakura. It looks like Tupanua is the only one we're worried about being out next week, and if all goes to plan, I'd like to move him to Tyrrell May. Gonna have to get rid of someone, so yeah, he's one of those guys, but the 80k in the bank isn't going to do that, sadly. May will be about 520. But that's that. We'll work it out as we come. Pikura, Wong, hopefully they're all good. I've got edge cover with Smithies with Tupanua. We'll have a look at my bench as well. Move down the line, we have Nathan Cleary and Drew Hutchison. So I have, you won't believe it, decided to fade Fogarty. So the theory with that at this point is that it was, let's just talk about it now. So it's between a couple of spots. It's between Smithies, Fogarty, McInnes, Elliott, Hosking, 5. So that was the 5, and Tohu Harris, absolutely love him. So 6 between, and 2 positions. So at the moment you've seen 1, and that's Morgan Smithies. I think at the cheapest out of all these guys, and he can probably score the same as Fogarty if he gets the minutes that we think he's going to get, right? So we're not worried about his work ethic. He's got that. Fogarty, when I originally looked at Fogarty, right, I looked at his first month or so of last year, and it was very low. He was kicking goals in that time too, but he had sort of 20, 25 in there, a 30 odd, a 40 odd, did have a 50 odd in there as well. But we're unsure. He's going to be kicking goals. Don't worry about Ethan Strange. He kicked him terribly in the trial, and he doesn't kick in New South Wales Cup. Chevy Stewart does. Fogs will be kicking, but will Strange take some kicking? And given he played pretty well in those trials, I think Weeks seemed to take a bit more of a back seat. Strange, I think, is going to take a little bit more of that, a little bit more control. He's got, if he's on the left-hand side, he's got Hudson Young over there. You got some guns, and I think that could be a slight issue with Fogarty, even though I still think he is a great selection. He doesn't have the massive upside. I don't think he's going to come out and get a 75 tonight that, Smithies could come up and get 15 above his break even, with Fogs being a 47. Yeah, 47 break even. I think he can get like a 55 or a 60 for sure, but I don't think he can go way over that. But he also has downside in like a 40 as well if they get beat comfortably enough. He's got Ponga shredding down that left-hand side. So their right-hand side, so it'll be him and Hosking defending on that right. Fogs hasn't had any, hadn't had any game practice yet. So, to have Ponga, Lucas, Bradman Best, and Marzu shredding down that left-hand side, that's kind of a worry for a starter. So I think I'm going to fade him on that notion, but I do think he's still a great selection. So that means I got Cleary as captain. Obviously, we knew that. Drew Hutchison is the guy that slots up into half. A few people are off him. I just think he's super safe. I'm going to lock him in, and then we'll see in a second, have some cover down below as well. So that's my half combination. Let me know how you're going with halves. I think that it was a really, really cool stat that was thrown up by the guys in the private group there. That's your graphs that they made up, just based on the scoring last year as well. It's important to go for guys in sort of at the start of the season. You see the points much higher for the hookers, for the mids, for the edges. And across the season, you do see the halves numbers, the wing fullbacks numbers, those two especially, go up as the year goes on as well. The center position was actually fairly similar the whole way last year. He had some sort of low 40s numbers for the average, about the 40 mark or just above for centers on average, with guys that going, the guys that start anyway, and then it just slowly increased very, very tinily. So that's where you're at here, and I'm looking to select a bunch of mids, edges, and a gun hooker in Harry Grant there to kick off the season, and then we can progress to some more absolute superstar halves later on, which you saw. Like, we wanted Moses, we wanted Johnson, we wanted Cleary, we wanted Hines, like we wanted all these guys, and that's going to happen again. And I'm going to start a bit cheaper and then potentially move some mids and edges along to those top tier guns. But I think Hutcho is going to be a great guy. Obviously a little bit of a worry on his position, potentially, if he doesn't play well, but I do think he will do well. If he doesn't and he gets dropped, then we'll have to make a trade, and that's how we're going to leave it at that with our halves position. For the centers, Jacob Kiraz makes it into my side alongside Ben Trebojevic, Burbo. So with Kiraz, guys, I am looking for upside, and I've spoke about all preseason that if he was to get the center position, he would get the duel. I think he scores better in fantasy at center, and he averaged 47, so 7 points above his break even. He has the ability to go 60 plus on any given night. He got a 80 odd first game last year, and he's coming up against that left-hand side defense, which is going to be Morgan Harper and Bailey Simonson. So yeah, that does include Dylan Brown, but a new combination. Can he do well against that? It's obviously just a 1 week thought on who he comes up against. But when you're looking at centers, obviously look on the other side of the park and see who they're going to come up against. But Kiraz with the dual position, a bit cheaper than a bunch of these guys at 556k. He's someone that I am excited about. The back issue thing, guys. Adam Druzy, who's the chairman, I believe, CEO of the Dogs on the SC Playbook podcast, was just talking about Kiraz, saying that, look, there's no way with the guys that we have, like Cherry and Bronson Cherry and all that kind of stuff, that he would be selected and starting in this side if he wasn't fit. So the back thing, he apparently could have played in that trial, but they just decided to keep him on ice. So don't worry about the back too much. What you need to worry about with Kiraz was the knee last year, and that's when his scores fell off a bit. He came back a bit too early, unfortunately. So Kiraz is in the side, and I'm excited to see him go. I think that that his base is helped in this because he's going to get runs regardless. He's just going to get some more tackles in there. And I think with that combination with Blake Wilson on that right, he should be able to score really, really well. So Jacob Kiraz is in there. He's also some wing fullback cover, which is helpful because we're obviously going to have Strange in this side, and he is my cover right now for halfback as well as center, which is going to be really, really cool. So that's Kiraz. Let's move it down to the next one. Here it is, Geordie Raps. I'm going for the upside in this one, guys. At fullback, he averages 50 last year. That was the case. He had one bad score, and that was a 16 when they got beat by 46 points, 48-2, I believe. The other ones there, he lost. One of the games they lost by 20, he scored a 47, and then the other one he went 50 odd and 60 odd. So he has upside. The Knights didn't look amazing in the trial, but we're expecting them to be good. I'm not expecting Raiders to be horrendous, especially with their great forward pack. So Geordie, if he's he was put on ice for those trials as well. If he comes out fit and firing, he would likely score well and has upside on top of that. So he can go out and get a 70, 80, 90. We know that, and that's what I'm looking at with Raps. I think obviously that 16 is low. I don't think they get beat that far, and if they were to get beat and he doesn't score that well, I think it's in the 20s to 30, which again is not too far under his break even. So yeah, to 35 or whatever he is, which is solid, but he has 50 upside, obviously, with Raps. And again, one of those guys that if we can get him for a minimum few weeks with some good scores at fullback, they play the Tigers next week. So I'm looking at that matchup as well. I doubt they get beat, which is more, I think, if they have close games, he's going to score well. He's in everything. And guys that are looking at, Nick Kotrick, be aware that like Chevy Stewart, the talk of him was he's going to play first grade this year. It might take a bunch of weeks of him, getting bigger, getting stronger, getting more reps in New South Wales Cup before they decide to put Chevy Stewart at fullback and Rapana goes back to the wing. Seb Chris comes back into this team. Like, where's the spot for Nick Kotrick long term? Unless they see him above Albert Hopewadi and whoever's on the left hand side, I can't remember, but unless they see that, that's that. But anyway, Raps, high upside for me. That's the play I'm going to go for. Obviously, guys, with a lot of upside plays, things can go belly up. But if I look at this starting side, I'll finish off with Keeney actually first. 279k. I've been high on him all preseason. I think it's closer to round 4 or 5. Probably round 5 is going to be my call. Let's say if it's round 4, we get a minimum of a couple of games out of him. We sell him to the next cash cow at 320k. Or whatever cash I have in the bank, I can sell him on at that point. And he becomes a looper next week, which is cool as well. So, guys, Keeney, not a slam dunk pick by any means, but I like his scoring, and they have Dragons first up and then a slightly easier, fairly softer opponent in round 3 as well. I think that the Titans should do well. And Keeney has sort of 35 to 50 in his range for sure. And if he gets somewhere in that, I'm super happy at that price. And as I said, Kiraz is some cover for me at the moment with Ethan Strange on the bench. Okay, what I want to say about the starting 13 and just my team in general, guys, is when I look down my team, all I want to see here is when I watch this player, are they a chance of going nuts and scoring really well? All right. Are they also safe to watch? And as I said, they get about their business, they get their base stats, or they, just a guy that looks to tackle, bust, and offload all the time, like a Karaz, right? So Harry Grant, yes, he's the best hooker in the game. That's that. Murray has a bit of upside, obviously, but we know him, he's more of a safety play, meat and potatoes, a little bit of upside. Morgan Smithies, meat and potatoes guy. I'm not going to be worried watching him. All I'm going to be watching for is minutes, and obviously Ricky ruled that. Tupanua was the cheap guy with some upside, try scoring upside, and usually gets about his work. He would have, got mid-30s or something in this game. So a little bit, maybe a mistake, like just based on that alone. But I think very cheap with dual position, hard to go against. Wong, exactly the same, has super high upside, gets about his work, as you can see. Pikura, heaps high upside. Shout out to the bloke in the comments for trying to give me crap for saying that Pikura was a must-have. He was laughing, but there was a little bit of crap in there. And also a shout out to the person in the comments that said that I was a sellout for promoting my own product. Beautiful. Not someone else's product, but promoting my own product and only showing the guys that were playing in Vegas last week when that's all that mattered. Whoa. Right? Actually, do you want to know how many players changed from my team last week? Literally like 8. So that's almost the whole side. Basically, once you count all my Vegas guys. So funny. That one. Cleary, we know him. Hutchison, I think the base is there. You're not going to worry too much about that. And then some upside. Kiraz and Burbo, we know what they can do. As I said, Kiraz has awesome base and then has super high upside. And then same with Keeney. Runs the footy well. Paps is Paps. We're not going to fade him, our favourite player. And Geordie Raps. Heaps of upside on that. Not hard to watch at fullback, that's for sure, being a tackle buster and a really good attacking player. So, at the moment, 80k in the bank. Let's move to the bench. So, Cam McInnes makes the side. So, our top 3 there, McInnes, Lukey, and Cotter. Pretty strong interchange, that is for sure, and plenty of mid and edge cover on our bench. So, the theory with McInnes, guys, as I said, there's a lot of other options in this game. Fogarty was an option for me. I had Elliott as potential option. All this gave me like 200k in the bank for that one, 150 for if I went for Jamal Fogarty. Like Hosking was another one. These are all potential options for me. Tohu Harris as well, but he kind of cuts my salary a bit shorter. And as I said, the bench guy I'm going to look at as well would hurt. But McInnes, when you watch him, are you sitting back and going, oh, how good's this? What do we watch for with McInnes? We watch for minutes. That's all we care about. And we're going, Craig, don't take him off. Craig, don't take him off, because he's just point, every minute, right? Tackle, run. Like he just goes and goes and goes. Co-captain now. I think with him, he's one I can easily slot in my side. At worst, it's like a 48 to 53, which is basically where he's priced at. And at best, he gets a 60-minute role and he's a 60-point player. And he's got 10 points of value. And then people will be trying to get him in. And the buy round 5 is a little bit of a small issue, but I don't have Sharks in my side, so that's completely fine. So he's an easy one to watch. Lukey is probably the only one in this side that I'm like, oh, he can be a tough watch, but he has tremendous upside. So he can go low, and I'm fully aware of that he can go 20-30, but I do think that the amount of ball they were giving him in trial, that meant that, last year they weren't giving him much at all, to be honest, even when he was getting, we're looking to get him about 60 minutes in this game coming up against the Dolphins. If they can get him ball, he's going to get tackle breaks. He will get tries. He will get offloads. And I think the 498k, we can get some sort of 60s out of him and then mix that in with the 30s and the 40 kind of thing in that 60 minutes with potential for 80 minutes if there's injuries in the side, right? That's something to note as well. And he can work up to it a couple of years back from ACL. So Lukey, happy to slot him in there. Ruben Cotter is the next one. So at 587, when he was over 700k at the back end of last year, at the start of last year in the 700s, it's very hard not to take him. Started well last year as well before injuries came. So I'm expecting good gameplay from Cotter. Like you're looking at their bench and they've had a couple of injuries, right? Lucy's gone. So Lukey comes in and plays that role there. I think Cotter's going to get 55 to 60, and PPM should be a bit better as well. Jamin Salmon, next guy on the list. He's currently in my interchange 4. If he starts, I think he's like a 30s to 40 scorer with like 45 to 50 minutes, just with the tackling that he can provide. Like in the trials, he looked really good on that, worked really hard, and ball played really well. Got a little bit of running in there. So Salmon at the moment is in interchange 4. I am currently looping Ethan Strange in number 5, given that my next pick is Lockie Galvin at this stage. But Lockie Galvin is currently the one that if Joe Chan gets moved to the bench, or if he is out of the side, or whatever happens here, that I will keep Lockie Galvin. Unless if Strange goes 50, I'll probably keep Lockie Galvin as well and have him in the 4 position as a looper. So that's how it works, guys. I'm going to loop Strange tonight, given I've got Karaz. If he does, really well, 40 plus, I'll look to keep Galvin and loop him. If he doesn't, then and Chan's starting, I'll definitely go Galvin straight to Chan. It costs me another 31k, drops me down to 49, and we'll have to make some moves next week if we want to get Turbo and our boy Terrell. So stay tuned for that one. If everything goes to plan, it's going to be a fun next week. A lot of trades, that's for sure. I've told the private group already, and we'll get out there eventually, but we've got to wait for a lot to happen in these 6 games. So Ethan Strange, lock him in, cover. And then my final 2, I've just slotted in Levi. I had Chan in there, but I've gone Levi over Chan just because he plays tonight. If he does well, he was also my only hooker cover. So there's a couple of things there, and I thought about the Galvin thing as well. Obviously, in round 1, he's not going to make any money. We do want guys that are making money. I do believe in Lockie. I think he's going to be playing a good amount of first grade this year. I think he's going to be in the 14 jersey next week. He probably scores in the 20s to 30, is my theory, with sort of 40 minutes. Somewhere there, 30 odd 40 minutes, but that's a bit of a risk unless he was to be named in the 6th role. And if he was, then me not having would be sad, but I would just get him anyway in the next few weeks, like see how it goes and get him in. So I'm happy to leave him out if someone like Joe Chan and Levi are going to make money this week. So even in 30 odd minutes, Levi is going to make some money. How much? Anyway, we can work that out. But if he gets to 40 and 50 minutes and he hits like a 40 in round 1, then I'm way behind the 8 ball for not owning him. And I don't have cover for Grant. So that's where we're at with him. I have cover in every position. I don't have wing fullback cover on the bench, but I have it in my centers with Karaz. So that's the beauty of that. I am looking to get Turbo next week. That will add to my wing fullback as well. So that is the current team, guys. I'm super excited about it. As I said, lots of upside. Guys like Levi Hughes, they're in the middle. They're going to sort of guarantee themselves some points. It's just the minutes for a lot of the guys. If we can get really high minutes for a bunch of them, then I could have some tremendous upside. If the Raiders play fairly well, Smithies does good things in the middle. Rapiner really, really good at fullback. I've got Levi and Strange down to make 4 Raiders. So I'm excited about the team, guys. Let me know your thoughts around the squad. Coming into round 1, I will be showing you the head-to-head side as well in a second. But awesome. Big thank you for watching all of my videos in the preseason. I know a lot of you guys like watching my reveals. It is a little bit outside the box in a few picks. Obviously with Smithies and Rapiner tonight, like that's a lot happening, and we hope that it goes well. Guys like McInnes, Lukey, Cotter, not outside the box at all. Murray, obviously. Kiraz, a little bit out there. Keeney seems to be not highly owned, but the rest of it seems pretty straight up and down, and I'm super excited about it. So that's my team, guys. We'll get to the head-to-head squad now. All right. So thankfully it didn't cook me. So yes, guys, if you have 2 squads, the only way to have 2 squads is to have 2 different logins. People ask me about that all the time, but this is for content. I'm doing head-to-head content this year. That's why we're doing it. The People Squad, unfortunately, is no more. Head-to-head squad, like I had to manage the People Squad anyway, so I'm rather just manage the head-to-head and beat all you guys, basically. So head-to-head squad. We'll spend a little bit less time on this just because obviously the overall is the main. It's the important one. But we started really well in the head-to-head squad. We had Brandon Smith, we had Payne Haas, we had Turbo, we had Tupanua and Piakura, but not ideal on that. I've been spruiking Elliott all preseason, so I went, stuff it. Elliott, you're coming in. I did have McInnes in there, but in a head-to-head squad, what's the name of the game at the start of the year? It is to make money. So Payne Haas is my secondary guy that's not going to make money. Well, he will in this round, but generally. And Cleary. So outside of that, I'm looking to make some cash. And Elliott could fit that bill really, really well. And if it doesn't work out in the first week, if he scores like a 40 and he just doesn't look as great, straight to Terrell May. Awesome. High upside play. I think he can be a 50-point guy, which is 150 undervalued, and that would be awesome. But we do know that he has his up and down games for sure. But I'm going to back him in. I've spoke about him all preseason. I should have put Terrell May in. I'm going to put Elliott in for that reason. I'm also going to go for Hosking because I think he can make some money. I went for Smithies in there. I'm going to go for Hosking in the head-to-head side. He can come out and he can be a 50-plus player very, very comfortably. So that's where we're going with Hosking. Not sure how many weeks he's going to get in the starting side with Whitehead being co-captain, or is he co or just by himself? That's the chat around Whitehead. It sounds like it's going to be a month, but it could be a bit less if he's a good healer or whatever they say that he is. He's spiritual. But Hosking, he's going to be the play in this team. Obviously drops price down and it helps me get some other players as well. So that was the theory with McInnes going down to Elliott, make some money, and it allowed me to get another player that I'm feeling safer about. There's no Fogarty in this team either. I was looking at it and I've decided not to again. So Hutchison is the play in this one. Flanagan's the other option, obviously, but I haven't done it so far. All right, Burbo and Will Penasini. I did have Sully in here, but dropping McInnes down to Elliott, look to make some money, allows me to go up to Penasini, who I think is going to be a 650 player this year. Sully, we're not unsure. I think that he's undervalued, but we're unsure and he could get to like 500 max. I think Penasini can be a gun scorer for us, could help us save some trades if we hold him for the entirety of the year in the head-to-head squad. So that's where we're at with the centers. I wanted Penasini in my squad at some point, and this is the way to do it. Unfortunately, Sully doesn't make the cut. As I said, the other option I had was McInnes there, Sully there, and I think I made another change or so, which we'll see in a second. That's right. And then I changed Keanu Keeney for Taine Tuapiki, actually. And I have this feeling that he's going to be there for sort of a month. And I think a month with 380 odd K is going to be good. I'm not like Keeney. I decided not to in this team. I just wanted to lock him in because I already have Turbo. Whereas in my team, I've gone Rapana and Keeney. I'm not looking to get another wing fullback. So I think, having Keeney there is a bit tough. I've got some backup on my bench. But Tuapiki, I think we can get some good scores out of him. He could probably make a little bit of money. And that's a winner. We don't have to make too many trades in that wing fullback position for the first few weeks. We'll have to get rid of him eventually, but he's a pretty solid price. He'll be near that 400 or above, hopefully well above 400, hitting some 40s and 50s in a really good team. Then we can move him on. So that's the way I'm going with Taine. If it happens to be that Chance is back next week, I do have cover, as I said, but I can just trade him out if that's the case. So that's where we're at. We got Turbo, we got Paps in there as well. So let's go up to our bench now. Surely you guys like this reveal better than just seeing it all at once. This is more fun, right? Come on. It's more fun for me anyway. All right, Cotter, Lukey. We do have Flanagan. He's currently sitting in my interchange. So I've got some extra cover in this team, basically, that I do for mine. I'm looking for points, clearly, in my team and with upside. And then this one, we're looking for money making. Obviously, points as well. But I think Flanagan's a fairly easy money maker. Might not be a heap, but it's someone you have to worry about trading until later. He's got a spot sewn up. If there's issues in my halves, I don't have to trade right now. Cotton and Lukey, we mentioned them as well. Come on, Cowboys boys, don't let me down. Jamin Salmon there, he's got the edge and the middle duel. He's obviously a pretty exciting player. We spoke about him. If he can get sort of anywhere near that sort of 45 to 50 minutes, he'll be able to do great work, which would be awesome. We go to Joe Chan. He's in the side currently. Again, I could change him if things don't pan out. And I don't have Mr. Levi currently, which is a tough one. So my only issue with this side right now is the fact that I'm only carrying Brandon Smith and I don't have any hooker cover. Actually, that's the other one I had. I did have Robson. Robson was on my interchange. So that was where I was at with that. But again, I do think with Smithy got through his first game fine. He'll be fine. If things happen, we can trade him, right? That's the general theory there. I've got cover in all the other positions. Levi, I think we can leave. Like I've gone Bostock over Levi in this one. And we are going to leave it at that, I think, just to have that wing fullback cover and not stress about it too much. I've got, I don't have the Karaz in here, which has the wing fullback dual. So that's where I do need to leave sort of Strange as the center cover and do need some wing fullback cover compared to that of my overall side. So that's that. Joey Chan, we could move around if we need to, but we can't get Levi after this. So Hooker is going to be the one that we're going to leave out at this stage, and we are going for money makers rather than, and then from there I can see what the hooking position's doing. Smith's going to make some money for us, which is cool. And at worst, if he gets injured, I can just trade him for someone else. So that's their dead squad. 41k in the bank. As I said, we'll see what happens with Elliott. If he goes poorly or Hosking doesn't go that great, we can swap one of them to Terrell May and happy days from there. And then Tupanua, he could be the expendable one. Obviously, guys, I'm not advocating to sell any of these two guys, but you do have to sell. Well, you don't have to trade in round one, but I think that trading in round one, getting the best money makers, getting the best scorers is an important one. And from what we've seen so far, they're the two guys that have been the low scorers and going to lose money. Lots is going to happen in the next 6 games, guys. And that's something to note in your sides when you're making them, when you're having plans for next week, like I've already got, is just knowing that the next 6 games are going to change plenty for our teams and for our plans. So I can't wait for tonight's game. I do have basketball at 7:50 with the game starting at 8. So I'll have to have everything sorted before then, obviously, and I'll have to not look at my phone and put on Do Not Disturb or something and then get into KO and absolutely rip in to that game. I've got Ponga in as my vice captain in Supercoach, so I'm hoping for him in one way. If you've got Ponga, good luck to you tonight. And if you've got 1 million of these Raiders guys, it's going to be a huge night of footy. I can't wait for it. Friday night's going to be hectic as well. I hope you all have fun, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for being here.